treat teen parents and what we need to do differently to make a difference in the lives of young people so that fewer of them become parents as teens, and so that those that do get the support they need. And that is really the work of the Alliance on Teen Pregnancy. I'm looking for my other panelists. One is Kristen Greco. Thank you. I'm going to do a little run of who everybody is, and, pardon me, you can sit wherever you like. Thank you. As they're getting settled, I do want to give folks, you've just seen something pretty intense, and I'm going to read some statements. If it's true for you, stand up. I learned something about teen parents from this film. Don't be lazy. It'll get you moving. Okay, thank you. All right, sit. And maybe I'll just make you stand or sit once or twice, and then I'll let you do your hands, okay? One last stand up. Something I saw in this film made me worry about teens I know. Thank you. All right, we'll do hands from now on. I know, it's late. Hands up if I was a teen parent, or my mother was a teen parent, or my sister or my brother. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but mother, sister, brother, teen parent, or if you know a teen parent. Raise your hand if you're a parent. Were you all the people that were standing when I'm worried about a teen I know? Agree? Raise your hand if you agree. Some teens get pregnant on purpose. Teens should have access to contraceptives. Oh, my kind of crap. Schools should offer sex ed. It's okay if you don't raise your hand. I'm not going to do anything bad. Not right now. But your parking will not be validated. No, I'm just kidding. Teens can be good parents. Amen. I had support from caring adults growing up. I could talk to my parents about sex. Okay. All right, I'm going to end there. And I think we kind of wanted to end with that question because a lot of you raised your hands to say you had caring adults in your lives, and that is critical for young people, parent or not. But it's also true that our parents are not always the people that we want to talk to about sex. And that means that there has to be other things in place that can help young people as they're making some very difficult decisions. So that said, I'm going to introduce the panel, and then I'm going to be kind of putting questions to them, each of them kind of pulling out people who I think I want to hear from first, but it's going to be free for all. Consuela, can you check and make sure the mic is working? Can you all hear me? Yes. All right. Okay, I didn't actually introduce myself. I'm Patricia Quinn. I'm the Executive Director of the Mass Alliance on Teen Pregnancy, and thank you. It is a job I love and am passionate about, and I am really pleased to be able to share this film and the discussion with you all, so thank you. First we have Kristen Greco, who some of you may have met during the reception, who is the producer, my apologies to John, the director, who is the producer of the film. And as John mentioned, she was a reporter for the Gloucester Times and broke the news of the increase in teen pregnancies at Gloucester High School. She is originally from Boston, a hometown girl, and she has her MS degree in journalism from Boston University. Thank you, Kristen, for being here. Consuela Green is the Prevention Program Coordinator at the Massachusetts Alliance on Teen Pregnancy. She has been working with schools to look at their sex ed curriculum and improve the practice to make it more evidence-based for 6 school districts with high teen birth rates across Massachusetts. Consuela also has some perspective because she also became a parent as a teen. You may recognize the third participant. Can anybody tell me who that is? This is Liz Wood, who was actually in the film. She is a school adjustment counselor for the Springfield Public Schools at Putnam Vocational High School, and she developed a teen parent program there that provides wraparound services so that teen parents can stay in school, graduate, and access community resources. Liz also became a parent as a teen. And next we have Ann Driscoll, who's going to represent all of media here today. Thank you, Ann. Ann is a journalist, an award-winning journalist. She's written about teen pregnancy before for Teen People, in the Boston Globe, New York Times. And we are very grateful that she's willing to share her perspectives about the media and the role that media plays in the way we deal with adolescent sexual health. Thank you, Ann, for being here. And last but not least, Diana Makhlouf, who works at the Malden High School Teen Parent Program, has run that program for 10 years, is that right? 14 years, okay. Diana is also a board member at the Alliance on Teen Pregnancy, and we thought it would be interesting to have Diana here because it is a school-based program, a school-based childcare program. That fed into the story at different points during that summer. So, that said, thank you all for being here. So I'd like to sort of start where it all began, or maybe not where it all began, but and really kind of think about, explore this fascination with the pact. And that's kind of how I think about it, the fascination with the pact. And I'm hoping, as she's like, yeah, we're gonna come right to me. As a journalist, can you shed some light for us on the media frenzy that sort of happened? I'm still puzzling through the meaning of all of that, and I have my theories, but I'd like to hear some of yours.
Sure. Can you all hear me? Yeah. I was part of that deluge that ended up in Gloucester that weekend. I freelanced for a number of publications, including People magazine, and I had read the story, the Time magazine story, and I immediately recognized that this was potentially a story. And I saw it Thursday morning and contacted my editor and pitched it. But I prefaced it by saying, if this is true, then this could be a story. And weirdly, my editor did not pick up on it. No one ran with it. And it wasn't until the following day that I finally got the green light to go to Gloucester. And when I arrived, I was absolutely stunned because I couldn't walk 5 feet without tripping over another reporter. I mean, it was just, I covered a lot of stories, and I had not seen anything like that.
It was a reporter pact, maybe?
It sort of felt that way. You know, and I'm proud to be a journalist. I'm not always proud at the ways journalists behave. You know, while I was there, I'm going to be honest with you, I saw, you know, journalists offering money for stories. And, you know, I had reservations almost from the get-go because it just didn't smell right to me. And I was disappointed to find out that that story had run really without any or much corroboration. And so, you know, how do you explain something like that? I'm not really sure. I mean, you know, clearly that word pact just you know, sent everybody running, and it was not really a time when journalists shined very much. So I don't know if that really...
I'm interested, maybe Consuela, because I know you and I have talked a little bit about this. I think you probably have an opinion here, I'm guessing.
A little bit of it.
Well, to be honest with you, I was similar. I was disheartened that the media took a story and made the story about the pact versus the pregnancies. And in any place that you see an increase in pregnancies, there's bigger questions to ask. And truthfully, I feel like the pact became a story because it was a very, very white town. And those young people looked like what many American families and young people look like, and they wanted to know why. Yeah. Why and how, because their faces didn't look like the stereotypical faces of teen parents, which are either poor or poor and Black and Latina in America. And I think that is why it became a story. Truthfully, that's sort of my take on it. So I think race and class played a part in why it became such a ridiculous media frenzy. And the thing I enjoy most about the Gloucester 18 film is that it digs deeper into the issue. And it speaks more broadly beyond whether or not they intended to get pregnant or not. But it's big. It's an issue of young people becoming pregnant and becoming parents for some of those that became parents. And what does it mean to be a young parent? What does it mean to raise young people as a young person yourself? And that's the story. And I'm elated to be on the panel, and I'm really excited to work at the Alliance on Teen Pregnancy and do the work that I do, because it's empowering to know that there are so many more people that do get it, and it's how do we help folks do good work to help young people make healthy decisions. And that should be the story.
Thanks. Does anyone else?
I have to say that in the 5 years that I've been at Putnam, the number of pregnancies and parents in the building has changed a little bit in that we've kept our parenting students in the building. But I have never walked into the building tripping over a reporter. I have never gotten a million phone calls or offered any money, which I'm willing to take, for doing the work that I do every day for the 70 to 80 teen moms in my building and growing number of teen dads in my building, that their goal, and I will say at Putnam, we do have a pact. Our pact is that once you become a teen parent, you will graduate. And that's not optional anymore. And that's not optional for us.
Thanks, Liz. Diana, when you were watching the film, did you see any themes, sort of things that are familiar, having worked with teen parents for a number of years? Were there familiar stories there for you in the young people's stories?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to just start off by saying to the director and the producer, you did a fabulous job of
Diana is a very tough audience.
Of capturing teen stories. I was very hesitant about the documentary again being done, because I think so many times teen parents are exploited, their stories are exploited in so many ways. So it was really important that the story be done in a way that was very realistic and not the Hollywood type of story, and you really captured their lives in such a touching way. And you know, the thing that resonated with me from the very beginning was issues of attachment. A lot of these families growing up in foster care, losing family members, lots of loss. Those are a lot of themes that we've dealt with. I know that a lot of people talked about wanting, having this need to want someone unconditionally and without being too clinical, but I've worked with teen parents for a long time that it's a little bit beyond just wanting somebody to love, it's wanting to be competent at something. So many of these young women are just, have not been very competent in a lot of things in their lives, and this allows them to be really good at something. Another thing that really struck me was how young all these parents were. I've worked with teen parents for 14 years, and I know that they're young, but when I heard them speak and saw their mannerisms and the way that they thought about their futures and their lives, God, I can't imagine them putting together a pact. They didn't know what they were going to do from, one year to the next. And, I have a teenage child that has planned out the next 4 years of where he's going to go and what he's going to do. And these children did not have that sense of what was going to happen in their lives. So thank you so much for telling their stories and doing it in such a beautiful way. I just also wanted to add that as being in a high school and working with administrators and the public, the sad thing about these controversies is that it creates an atmosphere where the supports, the resources, the best practices, they become seen as the bad people and reinforcing teens' behavior. And that's probably, to me, the saddest part was that the doctor and the nurse, who these girls probably have come to know, to respect, to trust, which is a hallmark of really good programs with teens, is the trust. They couldn't work in an honest atmosphere, and we get blamed and kind of seen as not being able to send that right message all the time. We're just trying to provide the best that we can for teens, and there has to be better ways to support programs so they don't get labeled.
Kristen, did you see in your, thank you, Diane, in your interviews, because not every, I don't know if everybody you spoke to appeared in the film, or whether you spoke to other people, were there themes in your interviews? Because I'm sure there's a lot more that didn't make it up on the screen than what we've seen.
There is obviously every interview, compared to the length of time that we spent with the girls, only a small fraction makes it into the movie. I think the themes have pretty much been touched upon, and I think maybe the one that struck me the most as a woman not so far out of high school myself, within the last decade or so.
Rub it in.
Well, it was so different. It was just so different going back. But the idea that if, girls are told, women are told too, that if we're not good at other things, maybe we can be good moms. Like, not maybe, we can all be good moms. We all can, most of us can have babies, and we're told that we'll be good mothers when we have them. And not to say that some of these girls I think are fantastic mothers, but that being said, that should not be plan A. That shouldn't be, oh, I'm not sure where I'm going to go to college, I'm going to become a mother. That, it doesn't work that way. So I think that struck me, talking to a lot of the girls, and again, not all of them, because I will not paint them all with one single brush, but I did get the sense that maybe they were a little bit lost.
And I think maybe going back to Diana, I think it was your point about we all want to be good at something. Mm-hmm. I don't care what your background or age or whatever, that we have a human need to do that. And I find that young people will strive for that, and that we can't blame them all the time for what that choice is if we have not really created the environment that gives the range of choices and the perception of opportunity.
And if I can just add one thing, I've spoken with Dr. Orris here tonight. I've spoken with him about this and about with people in Gloucester. They have put in place, one of the things that I've heard they've put in place is a mentoring program so that girls can understand that they have other options after high school, and that's really important. And Gloucester should, Gloucester's gotten the short end of the stick on this, and they should be applauded for the things that they have done to help.
Yeah, I really do think we want to take the opportunity to say that they have really come together to try to support young people in their community. And it hasn't been an easy road given the media. So I'd like to talk a little bit about intention to become pregnant. Not pact or no pact, but pregnancy intention. Consuela, can you share a little bit about what the research says about intention?
Well, I will actually share some DPH, Massachusetts DPH.
Call out to DPH.
I will share a little bit of data around sort of young people's intention to become pregnant. And for women under the age of 15, 96% did not try to get pregnant. For women 18 to 19, 79% did not try to get pregnant. And then when you think of some of the stereotypes that Black and Latina girls, that's what they want to do, their culture tells them that they should go and get pregnant. but African American or black girls in the state of Massachusetts, almost 66% of them did not try to get pregnant. And for young people living in poverty, almost 73% of them did not try to get pregnant. So I think sometimes it's about debunking the myth of young people's intention to become pregnant. What I will say is that several young people do not intend to not get pregnant. And when we think about intention, and when you look at even research around intention, when a pregnant woman is asked, did you intend to get pregnant, and she's already pregnant, it's a really different question than whether you ask a young person before conception if they intend to get pregnant. And I think, so when you think of intention, I think it's a hard to define.
Yeah, it's not a very clearly defined term. At this
so I
point,
really like the way DPH framed it and did not try to get pregnant. And I think that's a huge thing when we think about what we can do to help young people make healthy decisions for themselves. And when you know that, I think it's in the fact sheet, over 60% of high school seniors in the state of Massachusetts have had sex. So we need to help them intend to not get pregnant if that is not the choice that they're ready to make. And that's what we need to be intending as adults, on what are we doing to help them have the information that they need, have access to contraception in a way that they can access it in a youth-friendly way, and really inspire them to plan for a family versus not plan for a family.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the research that I've looked at actually shows that a young person is as much at risk of becoming pregnant if they are what was termed ambivalent about becoming pregnant as they are if they are trying. So the ambivalence, I mean, I think that's where many, many young people fall, not planning not to. And that's the place where we really need to do some work. How do we help them plan not to? I agree. Anybody else want to comment about intention? Liz, is that consistent with your experience in terms of intention?
I think that's consistent with the experience among intention. And I guess some of it comes from that want to have somebody to love, to have somebody that will be there for you. But intention, I think ambivalence is definitely where a lot of our students are, by not using contraception, by not taking advantage of school-based health centers and what they can offer, by not using any form of protection, by not being informed, by the school districts not informing, by parents not informing. There lies that, well, I didn't know, so I got pregnant. Well, pregnancy, okay, you got pregnant, but there are many other things that could have happened along with that pregnancy as well that aren't talked about, STIs and HIV and all sorts of other things that come along, not just the pregnancy, but what we're telling our young folks in the state and what they will tell their children. I think that's where the problem lies. That's where the cycle is never going to stop if we don't start giving them some accurate information rather than hearing it from, oh, my friend's cousin said that if we do this, I won't get pregnant, or it's the 3rd day of the month, so I can't get pregnant. That not knowing, we can't hide under the not knowing anymore, and we need to start informing.
And I'm wondering if this is anything you've looked at in any kind of writing you've done for the public.
The idea of intention?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I know the focus here is on teen, pregnancy, but the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy had a study that was released, I'm sure you're familiar, late last year, and in which they talked about, they looked at, kind of where people's heads are at around pregnancy and loosely intention. And among young adults, 9 in 10 believe that pregnancy should be planned. So, okay, that makes sense. Yet, in this same group, 2 out of 10 use no contraception. So, it's not just teens. I mean, we know that teens' brains don't fully develop until they're 18, and yet we see some of this thinking even later on.
Yeah, I didn't ask people to raise their hand if they ever had an unplanned pregnancy. I won't. But we do talk about that as a culture, we're not all that good at dealing with pregnancy planning and sexual health for anybody. So it's always a little bit ironic when we're getting all up in arms about what's happening for young people. We're not doing so hot ourselves, so sorry, but learn by example. I'm not surprised to hear about that research.
The other thing I just wanted to add is that I sort of came into journalism as a second career. I started out as a social worker. I still am a licensed social worker in Massachusetts. And when I was a social worker, I worked with teenage girls, and in particular teenage girls who had been in trouble, especially with the court. And guess what? Back then girls were getting pregnant, and they still are. But the good news is that there are lots more resources available. There's lots more awareness. There are ways of addressing this issue that didn't exist back when I was doing social work. So that's a good thing.
I have no idea what time it is. How are we doing on time at the panel? 9:20. I'm not going to go too much longer because I know there might be some questions too. So what do you make of the comment that birth control and sex ed would not have made a difference?
Can I answer that?
Did I feed that?
Did you give that one to me?
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that if I just read a statistic that over 70–80% of young women that became pregnant did not try to get pregnant, that I do believe that having access to contraception and knowledge of what was available to you could make the difference. But it's not the only thing that makes the difference in the lives of young people. And we've kind of talked about some of the themes that came up through the film and through the realities of young women and young men's lives when it comes to making sexual decisions. But it's one major part. I mean, you can't use a method and you don't have it, and you don't have access to it. And I think it also is a matter of adults coming to grips with, hearing that among all, adults as well as young people, we're not making healthy sexual decisions as regularly as we should, and we're expecting young people to do something that we're not doing is really, it really goes against everything that we say, and especially when people get into some of the values and attitudes around adolescent sexuality. I have values about that, and I got pregnant in the 90s, and I will say that access and information was better at times in the early 90s than it is now. And partly because it was the HIV epidemic, and if I didn't know about anything else, I knew about condoms because it was being talked about in my school. And when you hear that 50% of young people in the state of Massachusetts do not learn how to use condoms in their sex ed classes in school, whether they're even getting it, that's a whole other statistic. But the reality is, for young people, if we're not telling them what is available to them, and we're either assuming if we don't say anything or we say just say no, at some point, most of us have said yes. And when we say yes,
raise your
do we
hand
know,
if you said yes.
do we have a plan for what that healthy yes is going to be for us? And I think young people have a right, and we have a responsibility to give them that information.
And it's Diana, are you just about to jump out of your chair? Like, I got it. Go ahead.
Sex education is important, and part of prevention has to also be about choices and empowerment, because a lot of our girls do have that information and still are getting pregnant. And healthy choices are part of the learning process. So waiting until high school to have a health curriculum, sometimes it's a little bit too late, and it has to start a lot younger than that. I planned both my pregnancies, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to be judged.
No judgment, absolutely.
And I think a lot of our families do feel judged. Young women feel judged. I think part of the pregnancy pact issue was, feeling that there was intentionality in that process. So, judgment doesn't empower, it defeats. And if we want to stop a cycle, we have to make families, young families, and young people more aware about making healthy choices at an early age and the rest of their lives.
I'd like to see, I don't know of a place where there is a health center or something located in the school that is able to prescribe and make available birth control where that's actively supported. Where I don't think we have the place yet. So it's not just about access. Like, do kids know where to go buy condoms? Yes, they know where to go buy condoms. And do they know what condoms do? They do. But do we actually support them in making that decision? Or do we judge them? I mean, I'm the moderator, so let me stop. But nobody's surprised this is happening. But the point I want to make is that it's not just about access, it's about really supporting young people making those choices. And right now, I feel like the only sex young people can have is unplanned sex. Because to plan for sex is still bad. Yeah. It's very hard to be a good contraceptor if you can't plan for sex, because that's wrong and bad. So whether we have access or we don't have access, there's some culture that needs to shift that supports decision making, and I don't think we have it yet. Anybody else want to